Okay, so we'll get into the first main item on the agenda, which is the cybercrime update, and I'll just give a little bit of background into this. Obviously, cybercrime by its nature is borderless, committed online. It could be fraud, grooming, cyberbullying, and obviously working with the private sector, voluntary sector is something we do as well. The funding that was made available 3 years ago now to set up the cybercrime team in West Yorkshire, in my view, has been money well spent. And obviously, Ben, you're here to report on this today, so that's good. So thanks for that. We are represented on West Yorkshire Police's Cybercrime Project Board, as well as the West Yorkshire Cyber's Independent Advisory Board as well from this office. And I do work closely with yourselves at West Yorkshire Police around various campaigns that we try and highlight around safety online, particularly for younger and more vulnerable people. As has just been said, the Safer Communities Fund has actually supported 6 projects with more than £27,000 worth of funding on various cyber projects. And also earlier this year in February, we supported the National Safer Internet Day, which is obviously good awareness raising as well. And then finally, pleased to say that the competition that we jointly ran with schools in West Yorkshire for children in years 7, 8 and 9 involved them in sort of putting together a project around trying to prevent cybercrime. That was a real success. We had the event up at the Cargate training facility, and I know that work's already started on running probably a bigger competition next time around. So with that, I'll now hand over for the cybercrime update.
Okay, so just by way of summary for people viewing, what we're going to talk about today is an outline of the progress that we're now making in terms of tackling both cyber-enabled and dependent crime. As you're aware, this is a particularly complex area. It's just simply because of the evolving nature of it. It's evolving incredibly rapidly and requires a different set of policing skills actually to be able to deal with it. What we are doing is engaging very much nationally, regionally and locally to be at the forefront of some of the developing ideas in terms of dealing with cybercrime, and also to be able to influence the discussions and what kind of responses that we actually need. So Ben is going to talk us through some of the work that's currently ongoing, and then obviously give you an opportunity for some questions.
Thank you.
Ben, thank you.
Thank you. So in respect of cybercrime, it continues to be a key priority within the Police and Crime Plan and within the policing strategy. We have reviewed the strategic threat assessment in respect of cybercrime, and that has reduced slightly the threat posed by cybercrime. The Forces Attack Criminality Strategic Plan features cybercrime within it, and it highlights there that the structure of the cybercrime team and the placement of DMIs is really important in achieving these strategic aims, and I'll come on to that in just a little while. In terms of work ongoing since the last update, which was provided in August 17, you'll recall there was some concern around flagging, cyber flagging, where only 40% of cyber crimes are flagged accurately, and that was slightly procedural and slightly educational, the issues arising from that. A new process has been put in place, which has been delivered through Mr Foster at Force Tasking, which has mandated a period of appropriate flagging retrospectively, so from October last year. That has resulted in us seeing a significant increase in the amount of cyber-dependent crimes flagged accurately, which is now up to 2,490 within that 3-month period, which represents a significant increase. So what does that actually mean in terms of our response to that? Well, every crime where a flag is applied receives a review by a member of the cybercrime team or a dedicated DMI who's able to put an investigation plan on that. And in reality, that means that the victim gets better service, better prevention and protect advice, and there is an increased opportunity to catch offenders. So that's been a really positive step, and I hope to report back at the next report with some analysis of that data to provide an indication of trends, patterns and other information which we're going to gain from that. In respect of central investigations held within the cybercrime team, which are interdependent offending, this quarter represents a period where we've actually had embedded detectives within the cybercrime team for the first time. That's provided us with some real increased functionality, and we're now able to provide direct contact with 100% of action fraud referrals that are received into the force. Again, that sets a bit of a national precedent in we're one of the only forces who currently offer that service to victims of crime, which is something that's really positive. In respect of the digital media investigators, the force has had ongoing issues with the lack of national training available for digital media investigators, and you'll be aware of previous community outcomes. I've provided updates around some of our frustrations with that. The force has actually developed a suite of cyber training which is again nationally leading. What we've actually got is our own DMI course, which means that we'll be able to sufficiently resource our DMI requirements within force. Again, that puts us in a really great position, and that's going live in July, so we'll be able to ensure people are appropriately trained in that. To complement that, we've also developed a suite of force-wide training which will have benefits across the entire force. So at a level 1, which will be completed by all staff, is an e-learning package which provides that basic awareness and guidance around investigations, prevention and security of West Yorkshire police systems. We then progress into a one-day general training course which is aimed at frontline practitioners. Again, that's a really practical course and will significantly improve the service that victims receive and increase our opportunities to catch offenders and safeguard our communities. And that then is finally complemented through the DMI training provision, which will be targeted at those specialist investigators at an advanced level. And there'll also be a supervisory training course within there, ensuring that when the investigations are reviewed by supervisors, that they have the understanding of the opportunities that exist and we're maximising those opportunities. In terms of the prevention work that's been ongoing over the last period, you've highlighted already, Commissioner, the schools contest. That's reached over 30,000 people online, and 4,000 people watched the event live, which again was a really positive engagement with our community. And as you've highlighted already, we have plans for a bigger and better event already within 2018. A second cyber competition that we're running is a cyber matrix competition, which has been funded through proceeds of crime monies. That's a slightly more technical competition, which is aimed at those members of our community who are under 18 and have advanced cyber skills. What that project aims to do is, it's been developed in partnership with a technology company and the National Cyber Security Centre. It's the first one of its kind ever in the UK, and we are the leading force on that. That will basically allow the entrants to take part in various cyber challenges, and at the completion of each cyber challenge they'll receive a prevention message or some prevention training. There'll be a live final which will have a live hackathon, and at the conclusion of that all entrants will be invited for a careers day with a number of technology partners hoping to divert them into career opportunities, which again it's already attracted quite significant national interest, and I envisage that next year it will be a national project taken on centrally by government.
I mean, obviously, what it will also do is highlight those areas where there may be some security concerns, so that we can then put measures in place. So I actually think it's a really, really good opportunity for us to understand what it's like being an individual with an interest in this particular area, but also get some prevention messages out to businesses and schools and others.
Yeah, and like I say, getting the private sector a bit more engaged in some of their responsibilities in working with police and law enforcement generally. Yeah.
So in terms of what's sort of ongoing at a district level, within the last quarter we had the Safer Internet Week. Each one of the policing districts held a special cyber event at some point during that week. Again, incredibly well received. Around 1,000 people engaged with in person and many more engaged with online. Ongoing work as part of daily business. Kirklees District and the cyber team have been working together with Shelley College. We've identified a number of young people who we've got on board as volunteers, and they're now currently delivering cyber prevention and protection advice across young people, across the education network through peer-to-peer learning. Again, a national innovative project. Wakefield District have been pioneering some video logs, and so again, a new way to engage with different aspects of our community. And at Leeds, there's been a lot of work on going around the university campuses and dropping for those people, again, who are potentially vulnerable to certain types of offending. And finally, just coming on to the sort of significant other strategic bits of work that are ongoing. West Yorkshire Police has signed up as part of the National Police Chiefs Council Specialist Capabilities Programme pilot. So we'll be the second region to go live with this. What that'll do is provide access to funding for cyber-dependent offending. It will provide 100% of victims will receive an action fraud referral. It will place obligations on the force to have a youth intervention project dedicated to divert those young people who we identify through our investigations, and provide protect and prevent dedicated staff. Again, that's the timeline of that. At the moment, it's dependent on national project team, but it's potentially looking at going live in June. So I hope to be able to provide further information at the next update.
There is a resourcing requirement attached to that that the region will need to respond to, and we might want to think about how we might contribute to that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, yeah.
In terms of the force's general response, the Chief has approved an uplift in specialist trained staff, quite a significant uplift in specialist trained staff that are going to be embedded in a number of locations over the next 12 months. So those will be embedded within our Force Crime Management Unit and Customer Contact Centre, so they can provide that digital advice and guidance right at the early point of contact from the public, ensuring that we can capture best evidence at the earliest possible opportunity. There'll be staff embedded within each of the districts with a dedicated responsibility for digital media investigations. So again, that'll impact on all crime types, not just cyber-dependent and cyber-enabled crime, but it will significantly improve the service that victims receive in investigation opportunities.
So that's the group of officers and staff that you approved, Commissioner, as part of the 143 equivalent posts?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, that's part of the extra money is raised to the £12 on the police precinct. Yeah.
What that will provide for us as a force is a 24/7 response capability to cyber-enabled and cyber-dependent offending, enhanced investigation, and significantly improved victim experience for anyone who contacts the police in relation to these types of offences, which is, again, nationally that will put us at the forefront of responding to this type of crime, and place us with one of the sort of best staffed units within the UK, which is something that's incredibly positive. And Mr. Commissioner, I would ask if you've got any questions in respect to that.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that report. Very positive. I'll just quickly follow up on a couple of things you mentioned in the report. So, really good news around the flagging work on page 2 that you've referred to, which I believe has now resulted in 100% accuracy between October 17 and December 17. Could you just tell us a little bit more around what that actually entailed and how you see that continuing into the future?
Yes, so there's two primary areas of focus around the flagging issue. The first is the retrospective flagging which took place between October and December. That was completed by intelligence units as a result of an action within force tasking. And districts made use of officers with injuries or unrestricted duties to complete that. That will provide, when it's been completed, a really accurate picture of cyber offending, something that we probably don't have at the moment, and enable us to inform a number of other areas of business. What it also has done is we've been able to provide direct feedback to any officers who had maybe not applied a flag where one should have been applied or applied one incorrectly, so part of that education. Moving forward, every district has identified a process which was piloted successfully in Bradford and is now embedded as daily business, where flags will be applied on a daily basis. So now we're resulting in moving forward, there'll be 100% accuracy on an ongoing basis around this flagging.
Right, thanks for that. I mean, and I know you mentioned perhaps the next time we have an update on this, maybe some just examples of what that in practice, what that actually means with, if somebody was to follow up on one of these flagged cases.
Yes.
Okay. Obviously, again on the training, page 3, really good that you know, you've looked at the bespoke sort of demand within West Yorkshire for the digital media investigators. Could you just say a bit more about the sort of wider interest that you sort of mentioned as well?
Yeah, most definitely. The training that we've developed, it's the first time it's been done anywhere within the UK around this. And I would be really confident in saying that the current cyber training provision that we have in West Yorkshire is genuinely exceptional, and will continue to do for certainly over the foreseeable future through the investment that we've made in it. There has been significant interest as a direct result of that from a lot of other forces who've made inquiries already, and part of the opportunities around income generation has already been taken up by Cargate strategic leaders and is built into their sort of business planning moving forward.
I think one of the challenges that we've just got to check, and the reason why there was a little bit of a delay, if you remember, in us developing our training, was because we were waiting for College of Policing accreditation. So, of course, there's the element of what do the College of Policing feel comfortable with signing off in terms of which courses forces might be developing and which ones you know, the private sector might be developing. And then there's also the issue of, at some point, the forensic regulator that we also need to think about. So whilst we think we've got a really, really good fit-for-purpose product, we are keeping an eye on what does that mean in terms of accreditation as we move forwards.
Yeah. No, that's important there, because as you know, wearing other hats, we are having to deal with the whole standards around accreditation in forensics. So it's good that you've clearly got that element cited within this as well. So thanks for that. Just moving on to page 5, again you highlighted the National Police Chiefs Council pilot around the specialist capabilities. Could you just again say a bit more about this pilot and what the sort of expected impact might be on our current response?
So, as you're aware, Commissioner, when the specialist capabilities piece of work nationally was started, there were 5 capabilities that they were looking at. More recently, they've brought on board cyber and intelligence. So this is the response to that. Chief Constable Pete Goodman was looking for clusters of forces to start to work together to form basically a regional approach around cybercrime. We've obviously been one of the areas that's volunteered. And as you know, we're building upon the work that ACC Adrian Roberts did some time ago now, actually bringing everybody together in terms of where are we as a region. And as a consequence of that, I think is probably why we've been successful with being awarded this pilot status. It's very, very early stages, in fairness, to try and work out exactly how all this is going to get put together. But there was a recognition here in the North East that why do we want to keep doing things 7 times when actually you can see how the world is starting to operate in this environment, not least of which is the more serious end of cybercrime is now being dealt with by the National Crime Agency. So it makes sense to brigade our capability and resource where we can on that regional footprint, bearing in mind we've got some very successful collaborations already here in the North East. So it's a little bit early days to start to talk about exactly what does that look like, but I think what's important here is there's the energy and the momentum here in the North East to want to make this work on that regional footing and build upon things that forces have developed locally. Is there anything else you want to add, Ben?
No, I think that.
Yeah.
That's where we're at the moment. It's just early days, and that's why I know there's going to be a bit of a resourcing implication for the region to make sure that we've got the infrastructure to bring it all into place.
The only thing I just add is that the new cyber structure that was referenced earlier on in the paper with the additional resources is you know, as fully compliant and supportive of that that model, so there's going to be no conflict or requirement for restructures, if you like, or anything like that.
Okay. And then finally, Ben, you'll be aware, I mean, I came up with David from my office to the event at Leeds Beckett University, and we looked at the projects that were being funded through the Police Knowledge Fund. Is there sort of any update from those?
Yes,
yeah.
Commissioner. DCI Vanessa Smith, who you know led on the majority of that work, and she's been working over the last quarter with the College of Policing regarding a national rollout of some of the things that were developed in there, such as a cyber app and things like that. Yeah. So there's a current process ongoing around the refreshing of some of that material, and then sort of support of that material, if you like, on a permanent basis, so that nationally everyone can benefit from it. There has been some trials of that within the Greater Manchester Police and Wales area, just to ensure that the pilot we've done in West Yorkshire was successful, ensure that it's successful nationally. But again, that's been delivered through the Digital Oversight Board and nationally by DCI Smith and the College of Policing.
Very good, thank you. Just to finish by saying then, obviously, clearly I've read through the report and heard what you've had to say today. Really pleased with the work and progress and the response so far. Clearly there's some complex areas, but you demonstrated the leadership and the huge amount of work that is taking place, and obviously the commitment and dedication of the staff involved. So thank you very much, and I look forward to hearing about more progress in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Ben. Pass on our thanks to everybody who's involved.